Hello everyone, and welcome back to another installment of The Real Podcasters. This is the show where we like to cover all things movies, TV shows, video games, and a bunch of other things in no particular order. My name's Regan as ever, and I'm joined once again by my frankly ridiculous co-host. It's Dan.
I think you've labelled me everything under the sun, both on recording and off recording.
There's been a few off recording that I'm not going to mention, mostly because I can't remember, and it was probably borderline insulting, but there we go. So, this week we are going to be tackling a classic movie retrospective, that being we're going to be covering Bride of Frankenstein from 1935 for its...
Oh, I thought we were covering your life story, given you're like 100 years old.
I mean, I look good, it must be said.
Well,
let me guess. No, he doesn't. I actually look like the version of Frankenstein's monster from 1910, actually.
And that's putting it lightly.
It is putting it lightly. There was a lot of light in that one, but there we are.
Yeah, it's actually. Now you mention it.
So this is one we've never actually covered before, so I figured it would be quite a fun one.
Surprisingly.
Surprisingly, yeah, considering how classic of a movie it is. So what we'll be doing is our usual shtick of, we'll go through our own history on the movie and some general thoughts, then I'll go into a bit of background stuff, because we probably know, I think this is one of those movies where we probably both know a decent amount behind the scenes, because we both love this movie. Shocker. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Sorry to ruin it. Otherwise, Dan's lying and he actually despises this movie and he's been playing the long game for 3 years. It's entirely possible.
I couldn't be asked for that.
No, I could. And then we'll get into, well, I've labelled it as more spoilery thoughts. It's a 90-year-old movie, so I feel like if you've done really well to avoid any
I mean, if
spoilers,
you haven't really seen this film at this point, then what have you been doing?
Probably watching the more modern versions of Frankenstein, which are usually horrid, except for the one coming out this year with Guillermo del Toro directing it. I completely forgot about that. That's out on Netflix in November, I think, with Oscar Isaac, actually, of all people. But there we go. So yeah, let's get into all of that. Now, I am calling Bride of Frankenstein a classic movie, of course. I didn't see this until about 3 years ago. I had the Universal Monsters box set for I think even longer, and that is part of the collection, and it's the kind of movie where like I've heard nothing but nice things about it. I don't think I've read a single bad review of it, so it was one of those instances where going into it I was just a little bit nervous, despite it only being about 75 minutes long, which I'd like more movies to be that long every now and again. That would be quite fun.
Yeah, it would be nice just to have a horror film come out this year that's actually 75 minutes long and not 90 agonizing minutes of mediocrity.
I mean, granted,
that
90 is
lovely.
Still yeah. So yeah, going into it, I was still quite nervous because I still do that kind of thing where it's going into a movie that is pretty much universally beloved, and you kind of sat there thinking, "Am I gonna be the one needle in this massive haystack that is just gonna be like, this is a bit mediocre, isn't it?" Given the way we opened this thing up, I think it's quite clear that I don't think that. And saying that, I've only seen this twice. I watched it again a couple of days ago, and I do absolutely just adore it in every sense of the word. But we'll go to Dan first, properly, because I like to just quickly segue onto him, because it's always fun.
To be honest, it's not much different from yourself, really. I've got the box set, and it obviously came with all the classic Universal monsters. So you've got Dracula, Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Invisible Man as well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got like the core four, really. And when I watched the first Frankenstein, I thought it was absolutely tremendous, given that it's a film from the 1930s. It's still absolutely wonderful. You know what it is? When you suggested we'd cover Bride of Frankenstein, I was actually going to watch the original Frankenstein and then like sort of do what some cinemas do, where you like double feature it. So like I was going to go make a cup of tea or something and just like put on Bride of Frankenstein straight after, but I was a bit crunched for time, so I had to just sort of like pick one and then watch the other the next day. I was like, right, well, I'll watch Bride of Frankenstein, which there is a reason why people seemingly dub this to be arguably the greatest horror sequel of all time, and I think it absolutely is. I mean, it is up there with the likes of Aliens. It's up there with like the Evil Dead 2. Like, I mean, there's certainly other sequels that live up to it, but I don't think you have anything more perfect than Bride of Frankenstein, because it takes everything from the original film and you've got something new to it, and it's like, wow. You know, I mean, I've only seen it twice as well, as a matter of fact. Mm-hmm. Once for the first time, and then obviously when you said we would, I thought I would have like watched it a hell of a lot more, considering I adore this film, but I haven't, which is really odd for me, actually.
It's one of those things with those early Universal monster movies, because I got to them so late, there's like zero nostalgia sort of reason for me to watch them. I'll be completely honest with the original Frankenstein, the 1931 film. I'm not that big on it. Like, it's fine, but I think it's because I've got more of a knowledge, more of a sort of memory for Bride of Frankenstein, because it takes, you know, quite a few things that work in that original movie and not only enhances it in a variety of ways, but also does something completely different. When this is very much the time period where you could just you could just regurgitate a horror film like 5 or 6 goes, which
it's funny
I
you
can't
say
speak
that
for a lot of the Universal sequels, because trust me, there was a lot of them.
Started watching a lot of the Universal monster ones, I obviously got to the sequels, man. Then some of them are not like, well, they're nowhere up with like original classic monster films. I mean, there's a lot of Frankenstein ones, there's a lot of Dracula ones. I'm pretty sure Dracula ones are like the most in terms of like, it's sequel after sequel after sequel. I mean, like, it's Dracula's daughter, son of Dracula, it just goes on and on and on and on. And I'm pretty sure they did like crossover films as well. You had like Son of Frankenstein, House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, and it just got absolutely ridiculous. I mean, that
franchise is...
Yeah, they're just odd. And I burnt myself out very fast with a lot of them. So I never ever revisited another Universal monster film until literally rewatching Bride of Frankenstein, because of how burnt out I was. I mean,
I did quite enjoy The Invisible Man for what it was. I mean, I certainly prefer the Lee Winnell version from a couple of years ago. I can't say the same for Wolfman. They're all either mediocre to just really naff, to be honest, which is a shame. I mean, even Dracula, I'm not that big on. Like, I'm really not.
Yeah.
But again, because there's that iconography, and once you finally get to it when you're like in like your 20s,
then you see what it's all about, don't you?
Yeah. But I mean, the Universal monster franchise was pretty much considered the first cinematic universe in a way, with all like definitely. Your crossovers and your characters reappearing, which is quite funny, because Marvel's like, oh yeah, we perfected it. I'm like, yeah, but you didn't do it first.
I'll take and
then Universal tried again.
The copious amounts of naff to mediocre Universal monster sequels, Marvel, thanks.
Yeah. And I'm pretty much the same as you. I've never touched... I don't think I've touched any other sequel beyond Bride of Frankenstein.
I think the only
mostly because I just don't
Universal horror sequels I haven't got to yet are the Invisible Man ones. I think there's another 2 of them, which I'm fine with. Like, that's doable for me. There's not like 7 other films.
But yeah, I mean, Bride of Frankenstein just absolutely nails it. I think what's interesting is even just its production alone, because they'd already... I mean, I think when they were watching like the behind the scenes of the movie, like Universal, I mean, and they were already saying, well, we could do another one. But it took literally another 4 years before even director James Whale to even sign off on a script. But it's one of the reasons why technically the original movie ends differently than what it was going to do, because Dr. Frankenstein himself was going to die at the end. So it was going to pretty much be the same as the book to a certain extent. Did you ever read the novel? I'm actually curious.
Oh, well, it's funny. I never read the novel, but when I had, I think it's like really... I had the subscription Audible, and it was it was from like a Prime Incentive or something, so I got like a month free, and Frankenstein by Mary Shelley was one of the first things I listened to. I mean, I probably will read it at some point, but from what I've taken in from the narration of it, it's certainly something else.
Well, I think what's interesting is the fact that technically The Bride of Frankenstein is actually in that original novel, but just really not the same as this. Well, yeah. I suppose briefly, which works in the case with both, which I love, frankly. We'll get to that. But yeah, they decided to tweak the ending for Frankenstein so that Henry Frankenstein could live. So that if they could actually figure out a way to do a sequel, then at least they don't have to do any more retconning, frankly, because obviously the film is not the same as the book at all. I mean, it doesn't end in the Arctic, which always fascinated me. I think I had like it was one of those books I had as a kid, which it was just like a book of mythological creatures. So I don't understand why Frankenstein and the Bride was in it, because it's not mythological; it's just fictional.
Yeah, but that's a bit weird.
But yeah, I can remember being so confused because I had both the monster and the bride on separate pages, and you do read for the monster bit to say that Henry dies. Victor, I should say, dies at the end because it's Victor Frankenstein in the book. And then you get to the bride bit, and it just says he's alive. And I remember as a kid, I was like, "Wait, hang on a second, did someone forget that this happens?" or was it like halfway through the book he dies, and then they actually forget, and then in the next chapter he's like alive again. So it took me years to figure that one out. But yeah, like I say, they ended up tweaking the ending so that he could live. But like I say, 4 years of trying to figure out how to actually do this, and then deciding, well, let's do the bride bit. Because you look at that original movie, and it's those themes of playing with God. There's still ways to do that, and in this case,
well, I mean, it's like a pre Jurassic Park, isn't it? Except there's no dinosaurs; it's just some guy made up of dead bodies.
The Bride of John Hammond. Whoa. That
just sounds
that's an image.
Horrendous already.
Or it's just the T-Rex.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually just the T-Rex this entire time. It's actually been modelled on his wife.
The bride of the clever girl.
And it's still better than whatever the new one is in June, which we'll probably talk about, and that's an absolute drivel, which...
It's inevitable.
Well, yeah, it kind of is. But yeah, James Whale was given pretty much creative control over Bride of Frankenstein, and well, that's the movie we got, with a budget of $397,023, and it still went over budget and over schedule. In fact, the filming actually commenced in January 1935, right. And then it had its premiere in April. I would honestly, I'd like to see like a proper blockbuster filmed in that kind of time. You just like film it 3 months in advance and then just release it just as is. Which, in fairness, is probably still going to be better than most of the Marvel nonsense. But we're not talking about Marvel this week.
I think to a lot of people, that budget seems absolutely minuscule. But I think for that time period, it probably was a lot of money.
Probably quite a bit. And then, even though Universal's still doing a ton of sequels to their movies for no reason at all, they're not necessarily going to give them big money anyway, because there's not really a reason to.
Nah, definitely not.
But yes, like I said, so we've got, obviously, Boris Karloff back as the monster, not Frankenstein, the monster.
The monster,
with actual dialogue, which I forget, to be honest. I mean, I think even Karloff was saying that when he started reading the script, he was not a fan of the idea of giving the monster any sort of dialogue at all. But I think, in reality, if you're going to bring that character back, you kind of need to do something a bit different. So in this case...
Yeah, I mean, you can't really do another sequel where he's just...
Which, in fairness, they do a...
grunting.
Yeah, I mean, they do a little bit.
Yeah, there's a fair bit of grunting, but,
There's a fair bit of grunting and confusion and creepy smiling, which just... I mean, it just is. It's just really creepy.
Yeah, God, yeah, it is really creepy.
Yeah, just a little bit. Of course, you've got Colin Clive back as Henry Frankenstein, who's going through kind of his own existential crisis, really, where like his own creation has just like run off, and he's like, right, that's it. I'm not going to be a scientist anymore. And there's just that.
Yeah, he's just bedbound, man. He's just sick of his life.
Yeah, it's like, I am just done. And then there's just. I don't know why this doctor has the most villainous name ever, but it's just Pretorius. And you're like, yeah, you are designed to be evil.
Just instantly gives you this this villainous sort of this villainous character, like with a name like Doctor Pretorius. You know, he's just going to be a badass scientist.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway. He's not going to be a helpful scientist. He's going to absolutely go and grave rob and make monsters.
No, absolutely. And then, well, obviously, if you see the film, and then at the beginning when it has the cast of characters, it does the exact same thing that the first film did, where it doesn't reveal the name of the actor portraying the particular monster. So it didn't actually have Boris Karloff in the credits for the original, which is just hilarious. And then his name is just front and center on the poster, even though it's not actually. But they do the same with the bride, who's played by Elsa Lanchester, who also plays a secondary role at the very beginning, which I really love the opening of this, as Mary Shelley. Which I just think is just...
Coincidence.
Well, to be honest, I remember watching that thinking, this isn't going to be some weird meta thing, and for some reason Mary Shelley's going to be within the Frankenstein story, and she's going to be the bride. I was like... There's like nepotism, and then there's this, frankly.
I remember pausing it, and then, because I obviously recognised the face instantly, I paused it, and then like I rented it on Prime Video, and you get like the X-ray thing, so it gives you like a list of like what's currently on the scene, so like cast and stuff, and then it was obviously her. It's Mary Shelley. I'm like, I don't recognise that the first time I saw that.
I mean, I didn't either, but I think it's so good. But yes, obviously we'll get into major story beats now. Obviously, spoilers, I guess, for a near century-old film.
For a 90-year-old film.
Yeah. We'll kick off with the obvious one. For a film called The Bride of Frankenstein, she's only in it for 5 minutes. And by 5 minutes, I mean the last
3 minutes.
5 minutes.
Literally 3 minutes.
Oh, it's just 3 minutes, okay. Yeah,
it's about 3 minutes or so, yeah.
I think that is a stroke of genius, to be completely honest. For a couple of reasons. One, it almost feels like sort of like a really like cheesy sort of like middle finger to the audience, being like, "Oh, you wanted the Bride of Frankenstein for the whole film." You're getting it for 3 minutes. But I think as well, what makes that work is because even for the characters themselves, you know, the idea of creating the monster in the first film, there isn't much lead up to it, because they're playing with God. They're basically like children with like a gun. Essentially, they're trying to get to it as quickly as possible. The entirety of this movie is everyone debating as to whether or not they should do this again. which if it was going to be like by today's standards, this would end very quickly. Be like, no, the end, just Finn. like there was never actually a bride in this. But I think as well, because what I appreciate, especially with like you said, the bride herself is only in it for 3 minutes, because it is a complete subversion of that first movie. You've already had the monster going through their own sort of little journey of trying to figure out who they are. You don't need to do that for a second go. And it just makes it a bit more refreshing. And like I say, going back to the fact that like sequels like this would be churned out all the time, so it would have been very easy to just do the same film again, but just have it be.
You could have actually done like, you could have literally done how the original ends, and then it picks up in another film. So you know, you've got the ending of this film, and guess he's back again, Frankenstein. He's not dead again.
But I think as well, like especially from like with this being a retrospective, of course, this movie's been like examined for years and years and years, especially more recently.
Decades.
Yeah, decades, literally. And there is that sort of like, given the way the bride is actually created, is like literally by a group of men specifically, just so she can be a mate for the other monster dude in the film. And she immediately rejects him upon creation. I was like, that is subversion in the 1930s. That's actually really clever. I do really like. She's like, no, not interested. Go away.
I know, like, the moment the bride sees the monster, she hisses at him.
Yeah.
Uttered, like, detest. It's the equivalent of, like, spitting at somebody in absolute disgust.
She's actually become a mixture of a goose and a llama.
Yeah,
just like hissing and no. But that's the thing, because I mean, again, going back to that book I used to have, it did actually say that, like, she was only alive for a few minutes, and I'm sat there thinking, I don't know how that can work in the context of the film, and I'd completely forgotten about that by the time I watched it for the first time. And then, like you say, she's literally in it for the final scene, and yeah, wakens up, is a bit confused, hisses, and then is blown up. Essentially, and it's like,
yeah, the briefest character arc ever.
It's beautiful. It's still better than some of the modern ones.
Reanimated, sees an ugly ass monster blow up.
Mm-hmm.
The end. Finito.
But it just kind of makes, I think what makes it makes it even more tragic as well, especially for the monster himself, because he spends the entirety of the first film just trying to be, wants people to notice him beyond all the scarring, and they just can't do that. And now there's the opportunity to have someone like him in his life, and immediately rejects him again. And it's just like, you're just pounding on this guy, and he's like, he was already dead.
Do you know what it is? I really forgot how sorry you actually feel for the monster in this film.
Mm-hmm.
It is actually really heartbreaking. I mean, that scene where the monster is sort of stumbling through the woods and he comes across this cabin, and it's inhabited by a blind man, mm-hmm. who plays the violin, and he just treats him like a human being because he can't see the ugliness that the monster possesses, and that's where he learns to speak and stuff. And then it's something about I can't remember the line. I had it dug in my head, and now I've just completely and utterly forgot it. But basically, like, the guy consoles in the monster, and you see the monster like crying, and I thought, oh my god, man, I'm gonna cry. It's so sad. Mm-hmm. Like, Christ, like, the guy just, like, even there's like scenes before where there's somebody on a cliff who falls in the water. He goes in to try save her, and then everybody sees him as well. He's the one actually, like, trying to drown her. It's not that at all. It's just people have painted this horrendous picture of this monster that it's like, if we see you, we're gonna kill you. That's what it is, though. And it's like, he's not a monster. Like, the person who created him is the monster. He's just there. He doesn't know any better.
I think what else is really interesting about the movie as well, have you ever heard of the Hays Code?
Rings a bell.
Yeah. So it was a set of industry guidelines, but essentially known as the Motion Picture Production Code. So this was primarily in the US from the 30s to the 60s. So it was named after William H. Hays, who was the president of the Motion Picture Producers and Distributors of America, otherwise known as the MPPDA, obviously. As a person with a stammer, this actually works alright for me, because that's usually how I sound.
That works great, doesn't it? Really shortens it down.
MPPDA. But yeah, it was essentially like a set of guidelines that all movies should face in order to not receive any kind of censorship, and this movie was already towing the line, especially even being like a sequel to Frankenstein. So like stuff like pointed profanity, so that can include like the words God, Lord, Jesus and Christ, so at that kind of level.
Yeah, anything to do with religious blasphemy.
Mm-hmm. Anything to do with sex, anything to do with drugs, any sort of thing like that, which in fairness sounds absolutely ridiculous for then. That's perfectly quite normal now. Maybe except for any sort of like religious bits.
It's a very unnormal film if there's none of the above of you just listed.
Yeah. Well, granted,
the times have changed.
Well, the other one is any suggestive nudity, and I mean, like, there's none in this film, so I think we're fine.
Yeah, I mean, Christ, God only knows what they think of Ty West's films, and good.
I was just about to make a joke of being like, imagine if Zack Snyder did Bride of Frankenstein. Again, like,
I'd rather not actually.
But yeah, it was very much made at a time when a lot of the stuff in this would have been frowned upon. And gratefully, they didn't even need to tweak that much, weirdly enough, despite the fact there is constantly the whole thing of, like, playing God. They mentioned that multiple times. I'm surprised it didn't have to actually get away with it. It's also quite a funny film as well, which I'd kind of forgotten.
It is, it's really strange considering what the film is about. I mean, even in the opening, you've got this, like, crazy bat outside the burning rubble. And Frankenstein comes out of the ground and she just stares for a moment, screams and runs off. Like it's quite funny, and I chuckled quite lightheartedly at it.
I'm trying to remember who that. What was this? Oh, it was Minnie. It's Minnie who's like the creator. Like there's never a scene that she's in where she's not just absolutely just nuts. To be honest.
Oh yeah, there is not one scene where she's just normal.
But yeah, it is surprising. I mean, it's not exactly like an overwhelmingly dark movie, but like I say, it's like you just don't do the first film again, and it already does that deliberately by suddenly veering a little bit closer into comedy. But I think it's because now these characters already know that they're not just playing God, they're just being a bit ridiculous, so they can have a little bit more fun with this. And it does mean they can sort of like speed run through some of the other bits, such as like there's not like a long process of trying to find the parts for the bride. It's like, right, we're just going to do that for a scene. Right, there, ta-da, she's here. I've got to say as well, I mean, even though I do love the look of Boris Karloff as the monster, there is something just really unnerving and wrong with the look of the bride in this, even just with the hair, which I love the hair.
I love the hair. Well jealous.
Suddenly I'm just picturing, right, is there going to be a scenario where you're going to do that hair? Instead like having a mohawk, you're just going to have like the weird electrified thing. Thatch.
I mean, it could be the fact that she's been, brought to life by numerous electrical volts that's probably given her a hair. It's like, it absolutely deserved more than a 3-minute runtime, because it is just like, wow.
I mean,
And I read somewhere that I was just like scrolling through the trivia side of it while just being a hermit, and I've got nothing better to do than scroll through the film trivia,
obviously.
The dress that the bride wore, it was obviously custom made, and it required like 12 weeks to actually make the dress because of like how complex the like patterns and stuff that are on it is. Yeah,
12 weeks for 3 minutes,
and like it's yeah, that's exactly it. Like 12 weeks for a 3-minute scene. Like bloody hell! Like she like moves maybe like 5 steps, if that. Like bloody hell! I mean, it's not like the hard work's not gone noticed, But bloody hell, like I just it baffles me, man. Like I think I actually prefer the look of Karloff in this one as well, like all the scars and stuff as well.
Yeah, I do. Because I mean, it's just there's something about that design that's never been topped. I mean, there's been like slightly altered versions. I mean, of course, many I mean,
versions.
I mean, the one that springs to mind.
But again, it's like Dracula. There's so many versions.
I mean,
I can't say the Invisible Man because
you shouldn't have an image to be honest. Well, saying that actually,
yeah, you shouldn't really have an image.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Cause I did really love the design of the Invisible Man, just with like the goggles and like the bandages around.
The bandages, yeah.
You're pushing it when so many of your Universal monsters are just a creature with bandages. you're like,
yeah,
it's like someone has it out for bandages right now.
Theme.
But the ones that spring to mind when it comes to the look for Frankenstein's monster, I mean, well, there's Van Helsing, which, to be honest, I actually quite like that sort of. It's not necessarily, it just makes them just a bit bigger, but you've still got sort of like the boxy head look.
Yeah, you've got the boxy head, the electrode things in the neck, I think, or is it the head? I can't. It's either the head or the neck. I'm sure it's the head for some reason. I don't know why.
It's the neck, Dan.
Google search will tell us.
Were you even watching the film? I was.
No, because it turns out, Regan, that Van Helsing is pretty shit.
Right, you can shut the fuck up. See, yeah, sorry, there is some profanity in this podcast. Of course, the fucking is. We're British.
Yeah,
we're
it turns out it's not a very good film. Just stick with this.
Well, yeah, obviously. I'm trying to think of like other ones that come. I mean, there's there was. I think it was one that Aaron Eckhart did like about a decade ago. I think I Frankenstein or something.
Yes.
And they're just trying to make the monster into an action hero, and you're like, what are you doing? What the hell are you doing?
I mean, there's so many. I mean, films. I'm
Googling.
There was the one from '94 as well. That's literally titled Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I more or less remember that.
I haven't seen that one yet. Actually, I've had that on the watch list for a while.
Helena Bonham Carton, who's I can't remember her character, but I know Kenneth Branagh's Victor Frankenstein.
Oh, okay.
And Ian Holmes in it. It's got a really quite big cast. Even John Cleese is in it, which I totally forgot about.
That's not a name I was expecting to see in like a monster movie.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then you get like, you know, it's just evolved over so many years. I mean, you even go like the comedy route of something like Lisa Frankenstein.
Oh Jesus, yeah.
And rather than the whole like typical thing, if you've got this spooky lab, she just has a faulty sunbed.
And yet somehow it's better than most of the other
tanning
offerings.
bed? I think it's a tanning bed. Yeah. Well, sunbed, same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you get like 90s B movies like like Frankenhooker, which is just a film and a half, man.
Can't say I've heard of that one, funnily enough.
Oh, it's something. It is something. But there's so many. I mean, even the Hammer adaptions of it. You got like the Curse of Frankenstein, which is a really good film, actually.
Right. No, I mean, like the Hammer stuff, I still haven't gotten to. It's annoying me.
Yeah, I mean, again, they seem to do more Dracula sort of stuff, but I know they did a couple of Frankenstein films.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the other one, but you know, I think he even dipped into. I think it's still part of the Universal Monsters thing, but it was from the late 40s with Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
Oh Jesus, yeah.
Yeah,
which I'm still questioning the canon logic with those ones.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
I've never ever understood them. I haven't seen them, but I don't understand. Like,
well, when it comes to sort of like the legacy of the movie, I thought what would be quite interesting is reminding people of the Bride of Frankenstein movie that was going to happen a couple of years ago. So of course, when Universal tried for their 73rd time on making a monster franchise again, they also did it with 2017's The Mummy, which was I've never watched it again.
A film. It is indeed a film.
I really can't. But I'm pretty sure that there was supposed to be an adaptation of either Frankenstein or The Bride of Frankenstein. They even had Javier Bardem set to play the monster. Because there was that really... Do you remember the image they released featuring, I think it was Tom Cruise, Russell Crowe, Sophia Boutella, Johnny Depp, and Javier Bardem as like, yeah, this is going to be the next cast. They weren't even in the same room. Like, none of them were together.
Javier Bardem is scary enough. He does not need to be a monster.
I mean, when I heard that, I was like, so it's just Skyfall again, but it's just that, like, 5 seconds in Skyfall when he, like, pulls out his fake teeth. I'm like, right, okay, I'm expecting that for the entire film. Just...
yeah.
But I mean, I don't think it was ever confirmed, but I think they was looking for Angelina Jolie to play the bride.
All right.
That wouldn't have been against, to be honest. Well, I would have been on principle of the movie existing, but, you know.
So why didn't it happen? Surprise me.
Probably because the entire Dark Universe stuff kind of fell through. I'm sure it was for some reason, it was supposed to be the director of the live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast that was going to be doing it. Mm-hmm. I think it took like another 2 years before they decided, yeah, we're just going to pull the plug on this because it's just not working. and that's what led to the remake of The Invisible Man being extremely standalone, not trying to be part of a wider sort of thing. Hence why they did Wolfman exactly the same way. Probably a good thing, because that fucker's not a werewolf. I'm still.
Do you know what?
I'm still really bitter
I'm just
that.
looking here at what it did in terms of box office and stuff like that, and it's been updated. So obviously its profit about $950,000. So as of 2025, that would equivalent to $17.3 million.
Oh, okay.
So that's really like bloody something.
And especially for a 75-minute sequel.
90-year-old film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a 90-year-old film still gets talked about today by two northern idiots. Who would have thought?
Well, because no one else is talking about it, clearly. Except for the 147,000 people on Letterboxd that have claimed to have seen it, which, to be honest, that is quite low. But then it's a really old movie. It's like... I'm trying to think of...
Some people just see... Well, primary example, my younger sister will not... She has this, like, really, like, strange threshold that if a film is, like, older than 2010, something like that, she refuses to watch it.
What year was she born? Oh, it's 2010.
2003. So anything that came out in, like, the 1930s, 1980s, 1990s, doesn't care. Nah, we'll never, ever sit and watch it. She says Scream's terrible, by the way, so that's just heresy.
Did she still live with you?
Yeah.
It's a pity. Sorry. It's like, not even
that's
Back
the thing,
to
like,
the Bloody Future. Like, my God.
Some people just do not know what they're missing, man.
No, to be honest. I mean, there's still that weird sort of, like especially at work, I do have that sort of, you do have people coming in with that mindset of, oh, the kids don't like anything that's in black and white. I was like, I can very much disagree with you there. I can still remember like a group of school kids watching one of the Buster Keaton movies from the 20s, and they're thoroughly enjoying it. Granted, it's only because Buster Keaton is constantly hurting himself, so maybe it's just that they found entertaining, much as everyone did. But yeah, just make it a good bloody movie, and the kids... I mean, granted, this isn't really a kids movie in the slightest. It's also not overwhelmingly dark. It's like somewhere in the middle. But I can guarantee that they'll probably not...
It's a bit of everything, which is what I think everyone wants in a sequel. You know, you're not... I think the first film is quite dark, and although the sequel does have its dark moments, there's a lot of other stuff going on. It can be comedic at times. Mm-hmm. It's also a bit of a love story as well.
Yeah. If for 12 seconds. It's like the world's fastest date. Just like, nope, not for me. In his speak, because I will not talk in this movie.
Nope, absolutely not. But it's like a blind date, just very, very short. Mm-hmm. Hello, you're ugly. Boom.
And all of a sudden, going back to like the tragic side of things, the fact that it's the monster that kills the bride. When even in those frankly immortal lines
ending
of
quote,
"We belong dead."
We belong dead.
And it's like, I didn't think I was gonna get wrapped up in a movie featuring a character that is just wrapped up. Funnily enough,
even before, like when she starts hissing at him and stuff, he's like, "She hate me." Mm-hmm.
And it's like
it's just
everyone
like, oh
hates
God,
me.
And it's just like, Christ, like it. I love films like this where you feel sorry for the thing that's not actually the monster, mm-hmm. Because he although he is the monster, he's not. He just wants to be like treated like a normal person, but it's going to be very hard because he's made up of like 7 dead people.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And
it's probably a bit stinky as well, so no wonder people are running from him.
I think as well.
I think if you were made up of like 7 rotting cadavers, I think you wouldn't exactly smell like Lynx Africa, would you?
I mean, all of a sudden the idea of the monster smelling like Lynx Africa, actually, I would hide, to be honest, just like, no.
Gotta be the worst, like, infomercial ever.
Just like, even this like snotty or awful looking monster will use Lynx Africa, so there's no excuse for you.
Try Lynx new.
Suddenly you're sounding more like the cavemen from Horrible Histories. Bride, good. Oh, good. She hate. Dead now.
She hates me.
Dead again. But yes, that is our thoughts on Bride of Frankenstein for its 90th anniversary. Thoroughly entertaining movie and one of the icons of cinema. We'll be back in May, and well, May is considered Star Wars month, so we will be talking about Star Wars. Good ones, technically. Well, look at the fear. So, well, I'll say later on in May.
I remember now.
Yeah, so Jesus, just like pure fear. Like I've never known fear like it, and I've seen some, I've seen Lake Mungo and Threads.
Scary horror film.
And there's just Dan who's just like he's like rocking back and forth, just be like, what film are we talking about? What film are we talking about? Well, what we'll be doing, I'll say this for both of them. First up, we'll be covering what could have been the original Star Wars Episode 9 with Duel of the Fates, because it's never not fun just trashing the Rise of Skywalker, and now we can do it with the original version that's just available to read, which is beautiful. And then later on in May, we will be discussing, for the first time ever, an actual old Star Wars movie with The Empire Strikes Back 45 years later.
Bloody hell.
So you've got a choice of which one you're going to watch, because I've told you both. You can be like, oh, I'm not watching that one, I'll just watch this one instead. But yes, we will be back in May for a couple of Star Wars things. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you then. And until then, it is goodbye from Dan.
Ta-ta.
And it's goodbye from me. Goodbye.